Good afternoon, sports fans. I'm Jason Malloy, sports editor here at The Guardian, joined once again by Fred Fiddler McDonald, a.k.a. the Sports Prophet, and we're on location here at the Eastlink Centre as the Charlottetown Islanders practice. They're getting ready for their first game of the regular season, the Quebec Major Juniors Hockey League regular season, Friday night at 7:30 against the Cape Breton Screaming Eagles. Fred, what do you think of the Islanders this season?
Well, first of all, Jake's got to tell you, I had a light skate myself half an hour ago. I'm a little tired. But then what do I think of them this year? You laughed at
Just
that?
a second. That was a light skate, right?
A light skate, that's right. What do I think? Put it this way. I saw them beat Halifax last year right here. Made them like
4 straight games.
Right here. Halifax got beat by Charlottetown Islanders. Halifax is hosting this year. There's no reason for me to not believe that the Islanders could be in Halifax next year as one of the two Quebec countries, Halifax being the host, Charlottetown being the second team. Charlottetown can be there this year. There's no reason why they can't. Goaltender's back. Joseph's going to be back. Hunter Drew looks like he's going to be back. And look at the forwards. If Brett Budgell and Nikita Alexandrov are as outstanding this year as they were in the last half last year, I'm guaranteeing they're going to be in Halifax.
They had a hell of a run there last year. Alexandrov and Budgell, both rookies in the league last year, but they didn't play like rookies, especially in the playoffs. The bigger the games, the better they played, eh? Absolutely
right. So you're doing your homework. You were at all those games last year. I was at some of them. But I'll tell you one thing. You had to be impressed with the way the Islanders finished last year. Had to be impressed.
It was a magical run. You've been around the sport a long time. Can they recreate that, and how hard is it to repeat the next year?
I noticed you smiling when you said a long time. Yeah, you could say a long time. Like before you were born. How's that? Yeah, momentum, it's a funny thing, you know. I really think that, yes, the Islanders, if everything goes good, if they stay healthy, you got to have 3 things to win. You got to be good enough. We know that they're good enough. You got to stay healthy, and you got to get lucky. Those 3 things come into play. They can be in Halifax, no doubt about it. I expect the crowds to be much bigger this year. Remember, we started off last year, the Islanders were 1-6-3, and all the Boo Birds.
1-6-1, yeah.
Yeah, 1-6-1, and they look bad. I mean, you know, they didn't find their legs. A new team, the crowds were, everybody's around town saying they're not a good team. They're going to be dead last. Well, it's the reverse this year. The expectations of this team are extremely high,
yeah,
and rightfully so.
And that 1-6-1 start last year, a couple things. Matthew Welsh still played really well in goal for them, and Pascal Lecan was serving that 8-game suspension. And then they got Olivier Desjardins who really solidified that back end. You know, there are a lot less pieces that they're missing at this point. I think this is a pretty solid group all around, and it's going to be an exciting season.
Yeah, they're not breaking in many players. Last year they had 10, 11, 12 new faces to bring in. What do they got this year? Is there 2 or 3 maybe?
About a half a dozen, but those half a dozen, they're top-end skill guys. You know, Lucas Cormier was the 4th overall pick in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League draft for a reason. Alexander Dersch, wait until you see the guy on the ice. He's big, he's a machine, and they already sounds like there's chemistry built between him and Cormier, which is a nice building block on that back end.
And what about my golf cart from last week? Cole Edwards. Ever since we talked to him, you notice what happened? He scored 3 straight games he scored. You know what? It's rubbing off. The magic is rubbing off. That's what happened.
And I understand you also golf with Cape Breton's own Derek Gentile.
Derek Gentile, if he's over 15, I'll start eating that mic. He's a terrific player, a high-skill player, very young-looking guy. And you're right, he's a darn good player. And listen, the Cape Breton is going to love him. There's a great rapport and relationship between Cape Breton and PEI. They're going to love this guy. We love him.
Yes, and he's got some chemistry there with Alexandrov and Budgell. And if you put those 3 offensive guys together, they can make some magic. We should talk about the Island Storm, too. You know, big announcement earlier this week that they're bringing back Brad States. I know you were a fan favorite of him at UPEI. What do you think of the announcement that he's back for a 3rd season with the Storm?
I think he's a great piece. Listen, he's a role player. He's a thug under the basket, tough guy to play against, good rebounder, decent offensive skills, but he's a great player to have on your team. Two-way player, both ends of the rink. He's terrific. I like him. And he's played now 3 years with Tim Kendrick, so there's a good relationship there as well. So I really like the Island Storm.
The chemistry's there. He's also a big defensive player. You know, he can change the game in so many ways. Smart. He steals the ball, block a ball, and a lot of times he'll make a play with a lot of noise, whether it's a block, a dunk, And once you have a player like that, they can change the momentum of a game, particularly when you go on a little bit of run. It can get the fans into it.
Listen, a lot of the guys are coming back. They got some new faces and new pieces. I don't know if they've all been announced yet who's coming back. The only one, my wife was looking at at Franklin Sessions' Facebook page last night, and she said, "Oh, look, Frank Sessions in China. I hope he's just there for a visit, because let's face it, he was the best player in the league last year." Now, the Islanders got a lot of good pieces coming back, so let's just hope, keep our fingers crossed, and wait and see.
Yes, and you never know. A lot of those type of Franklin Session type players, the wait to see where they go. Potential NBA, D-League, NBA training camps getting ready to start. So it's going to be a trickle-down effect, and it might be a little later before we know for sure Franklin and Carl Hall, those type of guys are back. But if they are, that Storm team looks like they could be right there at the end.
Oh, yeah, they had a great run last year. Don't forget that a lot of key guys got hurt down the stretch. They were 19 and 21. There were 6 games better than they were the year before. 6 games next year better than the previous year. This year coming up, they're going to be in the playoffs again, and they're going to look for a long run, I expect.
Well, it's always great talking to you, Fred. I'm sure we'll see you here Friday night at the rink. I know you don't like getting out to the rink too early, but if we do get out this week, I'm sure it'll be a good game here between Cape Breton and Charlottetown.
Well, I got to go out and see my man, eh? Don't forget now, it's Derek Gentile. He's my man from Cape Breton. Got to get out and see him. So I think the Islanders got a real good team, and I think the fans of Charlottetown are going to really, really be appreciative of the quality of the club.
I didn't mean to cut you off. I have to give you a minute or two to tell me about that surprise team that you had in the back of your mind heading into week 1 of the NFL regular season.
Yeah, that's right. I'm glad you brought it up. Kansas City Chiefs, before the season started, not after day 1 or after week 1, before it started, you asked me who was the sleeper team in the league, and I said Kansas City, and I said, remember the name, Patrick Mahomes. So how's my man doing? 7 TDs in the first 2 games, and where are the Chiefs? I told you, they're going to be in the Super Bowl.
That's all the time we have for this week. Get out and enjoy the games, and maybe Fred will have a couple more educated opinions next week.